Axie Infinity Origins is such a vastly different game from what we know today. But even though it hasn't been released yet, there is still so much we can do to understand this new form of gameplay. Hello Axie Faction, welcome back. In reference to Battles v3, Sky Mavis has very commonly referenced two games in particular as strong sources of inspiration. And those games are Hearthstone and Slay the Spire. So, to help you understand Origin just a little bit better, I've started playing both of these games, and I'm going to dissect everything we know about Battles v3 and find out what we can learn from these older games. So make sure to watch till the end if you want to have a leg up on your opponent when Battles v3 finally launches. But first, I am not a financial advisor, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm a gamer and a crypto enthusiast. I love Axie Infinity, and I think that sharing ideas is the best way to strengthen the community. Alright, let's get right into it. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with the latest Battles v3 update, but there were so many questions regarding this new update that Philip Law and the Axie intern put together a Q&A to help us understand a little bit more. So we're going to be reviewing both of these sources. So the first major change we're going to experience is the transition from speed-based gameplay to turn-based gameplay. They write, trainers will now be in constant action, either playing their cards or carefully observing their opponent's moves. We believe that this fast-paced new game design is more engaging and provides a greater feeling of control over your Axies. Now, the Axie intern puts it in very simple terms. He says, player 1 will play, their actions happen. Player 2 will play, their actions happen. Unused energy will be deleted, unused cards will get discarded, and then cycled back into the deck. Now, this is very similar to how Slay the Spire works. So as you can see, as soon as you pick a card to play, the action happens right before your eyes. You no longer have to wait for both players to choose their entire card selection. Now, this adds a level of simplicity and makes the game more complicated at the same time, because now card order is extremely important, and if you accidentally choose the wrong card to start with, it could spell doom for the rest of the match. I mean, how many times have you done something like, oh, this, this order, oh wait, no, this order, oh no, wait, actually, this one. In Battles v3, you cannot take your cards back. That's why it'll be extremely important to understand your combos and know which cards to play first. Now, like they said, when you end your turn, any unused energy or cards will be discarded. I'll end my turn right now, and you can see it all goes to the discard pile, and my energy will not carry over to the next round. I start with 3 again, but I have a full open hand. But wait, didn't the Axie intern say that unused cards will get cycled back into the deck? Well, yes, but I believe this works in the same way Battles v2 does it. So the cards will cycle back through, but not until all of the cards have already been drawn. So you can see here I have 1 card left. As soon as I end this turn, my cards will get discarded. I'll draw my last card of the deck, and then the rest of my cards will get cycled back in, and I'll continue drawing. Now, despite this new mechanic, there will still be ways to carry your energy and cards into the next round, as the Axie intern states here. And you can see proof of that in the new card text for Tiny Dino. It reads, gain 15 damage per turn if retained. Now, this mechanic might be new to Axie, but it's existed in Slay the Spire for a long time. And for Exhibit A, we have well-laid plans. Now, when you use this card, at the end of your turn, it allows you to select 1 card to keep until the next round. But that's not the only way to keep cards in your hand from one turn to the next, because in this game you also have something called Relics. You can see them on the top left of the screen here, and they provide extra passive abilities to your character. And this specific relic states, at the end of your turn, you no longer discard your hand. So as you can see, once I end my turn, I don't lose any of my cards. In my last video about Axie Infinity Origins, we spoke a lot about runes and charms. These are power-ups and will play a very similar role to relics from Slay the Spire. So it's certainly possible that we see certain power-ups that allow us to retain cards too. Maybe that even solves the mystery about this green power-up. The team actually provided us a little more information on this as well. They say some of the runes and charms will also be class-specific, meaning that you may need more purity in an Axie in order to equip certain powerful charms. You may need to sacrifice purity and charm power in exchange for specific non-class related body parts and vice versa. Now that sounds like a lot, but let me simplify it for you. Now if you remember, they actually showed us some of the charms that we'll be using in Battles v3. And if you see, they have a class symbol, and underneath it is a number. It's very clear that the number is in relation to the rarity of the charm. As you can see, Mystic Charms have a 5, where Epic Charms have a 3. Now remember, when the Axie Intern says you may need more purity in order to equip more powerful charms. In other words, if you wanted to equip this Mystic Aqua Charm, you might need an Aqua with at least 5 Aqua body parts. But on the other hand, if you have a Chop Suey Axie with only 2 Aqua body parts, you're going to be very limited on what kind of runes and charms you can equip. This is why I believe pure Axies are going to dominate the meta, at least during the beginning of the Origin launch. But that's just at the beginning, because as time goes on, we'll start to discover which Chop Suey Axies actually have a chance in the top meta. But again, that's just my opinion. By the way, I will actually be streaming Slay the Spire regularly on Twitch in preparation for the Battles v3 launch. You can find a link to my Twitch in the description below. Make sure you follow so you don't miss out, and on the way down, hit the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. Thanks. Another interesting topic are the lanes, where you can place your Axies when you build your team. If we look at these Battle v3 leaks, then you can tell the lanes still exist, seeing as how the team on this side is arranged differently from the team on this side. But in Slay the Spire, as you can see, you can choose to attack any enemy, regardless of what lane he's in. In fact, if we look at this leak from before, you'll actually notice Bubba shoots one of the middle Axies, not the front Axie. So the utility of these lanes are definitely going to change in Battles v3. So you might think something like, okay, well, beasts are out of the equation because they're always gonna get sniped by Aquas or birds turn 1. But remember, in one of these previous leaks, they showed us Taunt, one of the new status effects for Axie Infinity Origin. Now this is where Hearthstone enters the equation. As you can see here, Taunt is a status effect that is built into the card. And when it is on the field, all enemy attackers are forced to attack that creature. So as you can see here, regardless of how many creatures I have, the enemy will always be forced to attack into a creature with Taunt first. Now with that in mind, your weaker Axies should still be safe as long as you build your deck accordingly. As you can see here, we have a tree trunk in front and it looks like it has the Taunt status effect. But why reference Hearthstone when Slay the Spire is so clearly the bigger source of inspiration? And that's because despite how great of a game this is, it's not truly turn-based. In fact, you can hover right over the enemy and it'll tell you what he intends to do, as if he chose his attacks before your turn even started. This mechanic is definitely something that will not work in competitive play. Also, this game is strictly player versus enemy, not player versus player. So while we can learn a lot about the new mechanics here, this will be more akin to the new adventure mode. And if we want to learn how a more competitive game works, we need to look at Hearthstone. Now, with the transition to turn-based gameplay, one of the biggest struggles and concerns is balance. For a game like this to work, they need to ensure that the player who goes first doesn't have a huge advantage over the player who goes second. Now, this is extremely important because otherwise, what was that? Hey, Blue! What are you doing here? Is that a clue? Bye, Blue. Say hi to Steve for me. All right, let's see. Oh, the Axie Intern talked about this too. So to compensate the player who goes second, he will be given a coin card, which can be used to gain another energy. So while the player who goes first will have first turn advantage, the player who goes second will have an energy advantage. In fact, we can even see that that is the case in this leak here. If you look on the bottom left, there is a coin card. This is another big inspiration from Hearthstone. And there you can see I've gained the coin card for my energy advantage. Now the coin card will stay in my hand until I decide to use it. I could use it on turn 1 to summon a creature that is a little bit stronger than normal. Or I could save it for a later turn to summon a bigger beast. Now you may think if you don't use your coin on the first turn, it's going to get discarded with the rest of your hand. But in the last Axie Infinity Twitter space, Jiho actually mentioned that the coin card will have the retain effect, meaning you'll keep it into your next turn. But that's not the only form of balance that Hearthstone uses. In fact, when you start with your opening hand, you can actually choose which cards you want to keep and which cards you want to cycle back into the deck and draw again, a mulligan. Now, Sky Mavis hasn't mentioned anything about mulligans in Axie Infinity Origin, but I think this would be an amazing addition to ensure that the player who goes second has the cards he needs to defend accordingly. Now remember, even though these inspirations are strong, Axie Infinity will always be its own unique thing, and I am certain that upon release, there will be mechanics that nobody could have expected, like Rage. You can learn more about it here. I'll see you there. Thanks.